In the mid-1800s, Minnesota stood at the border between civilization and uncertainty. This was where settlers paused, caught between the familiarity of the East and the risks of the uncharted West. Some continued the journey. Others vanished into remote terrain, never heard from again. Remnants of their ambition still remain, ghost towns, forgotten trails, and fragments of a dream history left behind. Some of those traces still stand today. On the cliffs of Lake Superior, Split Rock Lighthouse still stands, built after a single storm, swallowed 29 ships in one night. Further up the coast, Gooseberry Falls cuts through ancient volcanic rock, its rushing waters once guiding native peoples toward the lake. And across Minnesota's countryside, a pioneer village rests, its cabins and tools preserved from a world long forgotten. Stay with me as we uncover Minnesota's hidden wonders. Places so extraordinary, you'll wonder why no one ever told you about them before. Oxbow Lake is a well-known body of water formed when a curve of the Red River was cut off from the main channel, creating a crescent-shaped body of water. Historically, the area was used by fur traders in the early 19th century as a temporary camp due to its proximity to transportation routes. Sediment layers in the lake bed preserve evidence of regional agricultural shifts, including increased wheat farming in the late 1800s. The lake's isolation led to a unique ecosystem, dominated by species adapted to its still, nutrient-rich waters. In the 1930s, local farmers attempted to drain the lake for cropland, but abandoned the effort due to persistent flooding. Remnants of drainage ditches, now overgrown, are visible along its eastern shore. High Falls of the Pigeon River is the tallest waterfall in the state, located along the border. The cascade formed over 1.1 billion years ago through volcanic activity and erosion, exposing layered basalt cliffs. Historically, the river was used by the Ojibwe people for transportation and fishing. In fact, earlier maps labelled it Great Fall, which is a direct translation of an Ojibwe term. The waterfall's current name references passenger pigeons, which roosted in nearby forests until their extinction in the early 20th century. Today, the site attracts visitors for hiking, fishing, and historical interest. Grand Marais originated as a fishing and logging settlement in the 19th century. Its name comes from French voyageurs who travelled through the region during the fur trade era. meaning Great Marsh in French, as it replaced the Ojibwe term referencing the harbour's safety. The town's first commercial fish house opened in 1874, processing lake trout and whitefish. By 1910, annual catches exceeded £1.2 million, though stocks declined sharply after invasive species disrupted the ecosystem in the 1940s. Interestingly, the town's first weather station recorded a wind gust of 72 miles per hour in 1912, a local record unbroken until 1978. St. Paul is a major city serving as the state capital and has been a centre for politics, trade and industry for over a century. It developed around a 19th century trading post established near a Mississippi River landing. Its location played a key role in its growth as a transportation hub. One of the most well-known landmarks is the Minnesota State Capitol, completed in 1905 and designed by architect Cass Gilbert. It features a marble dome that was modelled after St. Peter's Basilica and incorporates 25 types of stone, including Minnesota granite and Georgia marble. Inside, the rotunda includes murals, statues, and a large chamber where the state legislature meets. Unfortunately, a fire destroyed the building's west wing at one point in the 20th century. Though it has since been reconstructed with fireproof materials. The Capitol grounds also notably include monuments honouring military service members and political leaders. Another major landmark is the Cathedral of St. Paul, which serves as the mother church of the Archdiocese of St. Paul and Minneapolis, and is the national shrine of the Apostle Paul. Completed in 1915, the structure is one of the largest cathedrals in the country. The cathedral was designed in a Beaux-Arts style, with large stained glass windows and detailed stone carvings. It stands on Summit Hill, overlooking the city, 290 feet above river level. Oberg Lake formed during the retreat of continental glaciers approximately 10,000 years ago, creating a basin with great depth. The lake's outlet flows into an old logging sluice, originally built to transport white pine to Lake Superior. Remnants of the sluice's cedar plank structure, reinforced with iron bolts, are still embedded in sections of the shoreline. Additionally, the Civilian Conservation Corps constructed a 2.7-mile hiking trail around the lake, using locally quarried basalt for steps and retaining walls. The trail replaced a narrower path worn by surveyors mapping the area's timber reserves in the 1880s. Split Rock Lighthouse is a historic lighthouse built in 1910 to improve safety for ships. It was constructed after a severe storm in 1905 caused multiple shipwrecks near the site. The brick tower stands atop a basalt cliff, positioning its third-order Fresnel lens 184 feet above Lake Superior's surface. The lens, powered by a kerosene lamp until the mid-20th century, produced a beam visible for 22 miles. Bloomington is a city known for its commercial centres, outdoor spaces, and historical landmarks. It originated in 1843 as an agricultural settlement, later transitioning to milling and livestock. One of its unique historical sites was the Minneapolis ski jumping facility, which operated from the early 1900s until the 1970s. It featured one of the tallest ski jumps in the region, though the jump was eventually removed when the sport declined in popularity. The facility was run by the Minneapolis Ski Club, which helped develop ski jumping in the area. The old Cedar Avenue Bridge spanned 1,800 feet across the Minnesota River. It was initially designed for steamboat passage and was last opened in 1957. Closed to vehicles in 1993, the bridge was converted to pedestrian use in 2002, retaining original guardrails and riveted trusses. Gooseberry Falls is a series of waterfalls along the Gooseberry River. The falls were formed over 1.1 billion-year-old basalt bedrock, shaped by ancient lava flows and erosion from the last glacial retreat. The site's name likely stems from a mistranslation of an Ojibwe term describing the river's curve, erroneously recorded as Gooseberry on 19th century maps. Loggers in the 1880s used the river to float timber, constructing a wooden sluice to bypass the falls. Remnants of iron brackets anchoring the sluice are embedded in eastern cliff faces. Established in 1975, Voyageurs National Park encompasses an impressive area of interconnected waterways and rock formations shaped by glaciers. Most of the park is accessible only by boat, making it unique among national parks. It was originally used by indigenous people for fishing, hunting and travel. Then French fur traders, known as voyageurs, later passed through the region in the 18th and 19th centuries. They transported furs and goods by canoe, following the same waterways that now make up much of the park. In fact, the park's oldest mapped portage that was used by the fur traders was documented in 1796. Its bedrock also contains 2.7 billion-year-old granite, which is among the oldest exposed rocks in the region. Stillwater is one of the oldest cities in the state, located along the banks of a major river. The city was founded as a logging hub along the St. Croix River, which served as a primary route for floating white pine to sawmills. The river provided a route for transporting logs downstream, and sawmills were built along the waterfront to process timber. The logging boom site, operational until 1914, could hold up to 300 million board feet of timber. A concrete retaining wall, built to stabilise the riverbank, remains partially intact near downtown. Stillwater was also the site of an important political event in 1848, as the meeting between leaders there eventually led to statehood a few years later. Minnesota has been a major producer of corn for over a century. The state's climate and soil conditions make it well suited for growing the crop, which is used for food, livestock feed, and ethanol production. Cornfields stretch across thousands of acres, with planting beginning in the spring and harvesting taking place in the fall. In fact, farming corn in Minnesota expanded rapidly after the 1862 Homestead Act. As technology advanced, tractors and mechanical planters replaced manual labour, increasing efficiency. Today, farmers use GPS-guided equipment and precision agriculture to manage crops more effectively. Early fields relied on 30-foot tall steel windmills to pump groundwater for irrigation. As a single windmill could supply 300 gallons per hour to irrigate 40 acres. The state's oldest operational windmill, a 1924 air motor model near New Ulm, still pumps water for a 10-acre demonstration plot. Pioneer Village in Worthington shows what life was like in a small town over 100 years ago. The village has more than 30 buildings, all restored to look like they did in the early 1900s. One of the buildings is an actual jail from the early 1900s, with original bars still in place. Every object in the village was used by real families, carrying the stories of people who lived, worked, and built the region. Without this village, much of Minnesota's early life would be forgotten. These buildings, rescued from collapse, now speak for the people who once lived in them. Lake Minnetonka is a large freshwater lake formed by glaciers that created its irregular shape with numerous bays and inlets. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, Lake Minnetonka became a popular destination for steamboats and grand hotels. Steamboats carried passengers between towns and resorts, making travel across the lake easier. In fact, a steamboat launched in 1881, famously named Belle of Minnetonka, was able to carry 2,500 passengers before burning in 1895. As automobiles became more common, the popularity of steamboat travel declined, but the lake remained a key location for recreation. Near the lake is the Mount Calvary Lutheran Church, which has expanded over the years to accommodate a growing population. The church's Gothic Revival design utilised locally quarried limestone, with stained glass windows added during a 1950 expansion. Minneapolis is the largest city in Minnesota and forms one half of the Twin Cities, along with St. Paul. It emerged as a milling powerhouse in the mid-1800s, leveraging the hydropower of St. Anthony Falls to process wheat into flour. By 1900, its mills produced nearly 15% of the nation's grain output, driving industrial growth. The city's streetcar system, operational until 1954, shaped its neighbourhoods before transitioning to bus routes. The Basilica of St. Marais, completed in 1915, became the first basilica in the United States. It features detailed stonework, large stained glass windows, and an impressive dome. The basilica continues to serve as an active place of worship and hosts concerts and community events. Minneapolis City Hall is one of the most recognisable government buildings in the city. Finished in 1906, it houses a 20-foot-tall statue of Father of Waters and a bell cast from Civil War cannons. The structure itself features a large clock tower and was built with granite. Standing proudly in the Minneapolis Sculpture Guard is Spoonbridge and Cherry, a 52-foot sculpture installed in 1988 that anchors the public art garden. Its stainless steel spoon functions as a water feature, recirculating 900 gallons hourly. Central to the city's identity is the Mississippi River. It flows through a gorge stabilized after landslides in the 1870s damaged milling infrastructure. The river was used for transportation, trade, and power generation. It continues to be a major feature of the city, with parks, trails, and bridges connecting neighborhoods along its banks. Constructed in 1883 for rail traffic, the Stone Arch Bridge spans the river using limestone and granite piers. Made of limestone and granite, it retains original rail spikes marking its industrial past. In fact, it was built with multiple arches to withstand strong river currents and support the weight of heavy trains. By the late 20th century, rail use declined and the bridge was no longer needed for trains. Instead of being demolished, it was converted into a pedestrian and bicycle bridge. Today, it serves as a key connection for people travelling between downtown Minneapolis and the St. Anthony Main area. St. Anthony Falls is the only natural waterfall on the Mississippi River. It was a major reason why the city became a milling centre, as its power was harnessed for grain processing. Over time, erosion and industrial development changed the waterfall's appearance, but it remains an important historic site. The waterfall was reinforced with concrete after a partial collapse in 1869. Located in Prospect Park, the Witch's Hat Water Tower gets its name from its pointed roof. It was originally built to store water and improve pressure for nearby homes, though is no longer in use for water storage. Another frequently visited waterfall is the Minnehaha Falls, a 53-foot cascade. The waterfall drops over a limestone ledge and is surrounded by trails and parkland. It changes dramatically with the seasons, flowing heavily in spring and freezing into large ice formations in winter. Its iconic image inspired a 19th century poem and even became a municipal park in 1889. Duluth City developed as a shipping hub after the completion of the Duluth Ship Canal, which linked Lake Superior to inland ports. It has been a centre for shipping, industry, and outdoor recreation for over a century. Large ships continue to pass through the harbour, moving goods across the Great Lakes and beyond. Rising from the heights of Enger Hill, the stone-built Enger Tower stands tall. Built in 1939, the 5-storey stone tower was dedicated to businessman Bert Enger, who contributed to the city's parks. Then there is Lake Superior, an iconic natural landmark that is significant in the city's identity. In winter, the lake creates heavy snowfall due to the lake effect weather pattern. The water remains mostly ice-free, but large ice formations can build up along the shore. It freezes to an average thickness of 18 inches in winter, halting commercial shipping from January to March. Storms on the lake are powerful, with high winds and waves that have led to shipwrecks over the years. During summer, the lake draws boaters, anglers, and visitors to its shores. The water stays cold year-round, with average summer surface temperatures rarely exceeding 60 degrees Fahrenheit. As the waves of Lake Superior roll toward the shore, they guide the way to the iconic Duluth Harbour North Pier Lighthouse. Operational since 1910, the lighthouse's red and white structure is easily recognisable, and it remains active in helping ships navigate through the canal. Automated in 1979, its 1930 foghorn system was decommissioned in 1995. North of the city, Superior National Forest stretches along the northwestern shore of Lake Superior. This includes 2,000 miles of logging roads built in the 1920s. The forest contains lakes, rivers, and a mix of pine and hardwood trees. Notably, a 1948 wildfire burned 15,000 acres within 20 miles of Duluth, leading to reforestation efforts using 2 million red pine seedlings. This is Minnesota, a land of hidden wonders and remarkable architectural marvels. Now, if you don't want to miss the most unreal wonders of Wyoming, check out this video.